Hi, once again, I'm Sydney, and I am a servant of the Almighty God. I'm also the founder of SOTAG, which stands for Servants of the Almighty God. We believe in truth, love, and the brotherhood of mankind. Today, I want to get into something that's a little bit edgy, but I've spent a lot of time with this stuff, okay? What I want to spend time on today is science is serving God better than many religions. So there seemed to have been a split, I guess around, was it 1859, when Charles Darwin published, his work that defines basically evolution, that basically caused a big split between religion and science. Soon after that, however, there was another event which should have caused really was a synchronicity that we missed. In 1869, so November 1859, that's Charles Darwin published his great work on evolution. February 1869, Dmitry Mendeleev, he basically created that periodic table of elements. And he tells a story of, he said he had been working for a long time, I think like 3 days, working on trying to figure these things out. And so that desire was there. He said he took a nap. And in this nap, he saw the table with all the elements organized in it. So this was a revelation to Dmitry Mendeleev. And that showed definitively it came from somewhere. Even before we get into all the instruments and equipment that we use today, the first thing, the raw material. The raw materials had to be presented to us. And so now, I'm going to jump forward a little bit. Silicon, this computers, the internet, all of these things, silicon. So by recognizing all these elements in the periodic table of elements, our science, all our science, everything in science is basically a discovery. Discovering what's already out there. And so there are critical elements. One of them was the establishment of the periodic table of elements. Because before we get into manufacturing all these things, we have to understand the properties of it. So, and this is what was presented to Mendeleev. Now, if we look at Charles Darwin's work, right, back then, and this is one of my big contentions with Sydney's theory and all of that stuff, right, about random. When we don't understand something, that's random. That's how random came about. And I have this thing about a spiritual thing where random came really from the depths of hell. Because today, that one word, just associating random with evolution is the cause for all kinds of, basically madness and demonic stuff. This is what caused the big split. This is what caused the split. And unfortunately, because of that split, you have now a lot of our institutes of higher learning keep pushing this thing that we are the product of random evolution. Even though in the last approximately 165 to 200 years, what we are finding out as our dedicated researchers go out there, every researcher, every scientist would recognize, if they're being honest, that what we are discovering, again, it has been there for eons, could be billions of years. It's been out there. And so when we discover, or everything that we discover, we are recognizing there are rules around these things. There are principles. This is why we can repeat experiments. We can, like in the periodic table of elements, we can, even before elements were discovered, we can predict the characteristics, because based on the atomic weight, they fit in a certain place, and these elements in this area had a certain qualities. So we can predict, how reactive it would be, whether it would be inert, all of these things, just based on that. And that was given to Mendeleev. There are a lot of things packed in there, because science serves all of us. The knowledge that's in the periodic table of elements serves all of us, everywhere on earth, all of God's creations. It really is uniting all of us. We don't dispute and argue about computers and the capabilities and all that stuff. We just use it. We love our phones and the internet, all of these things. And I would dare say that those who turn their back on these things, guess what? They are rejecting the revelations from the Almighty. Because every scientist recognizes today, we don't go out to create things, we are trying to learn the secrets of nature. I will put it a slightly different way. What we're trying to find, the secrets of nature, these are the rules of creation. These are the rules that govern everything that was created and placed there for us. We are on this journey of discovery. And as these things are revealed to us, they unite us. Think about this. You put in a metaphorical room, you put science on one side, and you put some religious leaders. You put the Muslim, the Jews, the Buddhists, the Muslims, put them in one corner, and see which one people will migrate to. The scriptures, they give us the commandments, that this is really what's important, the commandments. And so if we live by the commandments, we're much better people. The knowledge from God, and fortunately, and again, it's one of those things, His will prevails. The knowledge that powers all these technologies, where we can recognize there is no random anywhere in nature. Because random, again, as a software engineer and I work on this stuff for many, many years, random, it's unpredictable. It is unrepeatable. So if you have something that's random, it occurs once and you cannot repeat it. You cannot predict the outcome of some events. You see it starts here and say, where is this going to go? Well, it's random. We don't have that. Every science researcher will tell you, we don't have that in nature. It seemed that way 200 years ago. There were so many things. I keep talking about the weather. That looked random. People who got shingles, that looked random. There are so many things. The whole concept of, we have these things mutating, that seemed random. But our recent experience with COVID-19, as that displayed, the virus, it's like trying to pick a lock. So it is a directed event. It says, I want to get into this cell. I want to perform this action. And so it's trying all of these things. And this is why I always compare it to what as a software engineer, spending all these years working with computers on all different levels and different platforms. It's very similar to us creating this massive database that we program this to interrogate that. When you encounter something, see if you can find the solution in there. And if you don't find it there, then you capture information and store it. So that database that it queries is getting better, bigger, it has more experience, it's learning from everything it encounters. Isn't it beautiful? We are trying to do that with these inanimate, with metallic stuff. That's some intelligence encoded that way deep. It's almost at a point where life, that spark of life that we haven't seen, we don't know where it comes from, because something is alive and then it's dead. You have all these systems that support it, but there is a point where that spark, it's somewhere down there, way down at a genetic level, where there's an intelligence that it queries and says, the virus says, how do I get into this cell? How this has changed. I need to change to get in there. It's the same thing that we have with some creature stressed by something in the environment. And that creature we know, we establish it, whether it's a snail, a worm, or any other larger animal, does not have the intelligence to manipulate itself. But that knowledge, that wisdom, that intelligence, and especially with autonomy, right, which we are trying to accomplish, at autonomy, so we don't have to go in and tweak it every time. That intelligence is somewhere way down at that genetic level, way down in the genes. It detects this stressful condition, and so that whether it's a chemical signals or whatever it has to do in an attempt to overcome that which is happening at that macro level. Isn't that amazing? But you see that intelligence, which we don't attribute to a fish or a bird or a worm. We don't associate that kind of intelligence, but we can observe. We can observe that intelligence is there because the genes now do whatever changes are necessary to create a mutation that moves in a direction to overcome that external force that's acting on it, that external condition that's being stressful. This change happens at the genetic level, and it's beautiful because that's the only way that it can propagate from one generation to the next. This is what Charles Darwin observed. And so at that point, we didn't know about DNA, we didn't know about genes, we didn't know, we didn't all this thing about stem cells and all the things we know now. So of course at that point, but something really, it's my thing that something really negative put that random in there, because that random is what now says, well, we don't have to be accountable. And the random basically said, there is no God. That's a major thing, that the random, insertion of that random next to what we observed, the science that we observed, basically says, there is no God. And so you have no soul. You don't have free will. You are just a product of this, whatever, these neurons firing in your brain. That's all it is. You don't have to be concerned about being accountable, right? We see it now, right? People go out and they do terrible things, and they just give them a slap on the wrist, or because many of our institutes of higher learning, they ascribe to that. No, we are just a product of random stuff, and so go out there and do more random stuff. Get all you can. Do not care about conservation and empathy. No, just get what you can. It's almost evil. So this is the type of stuff where we find, when we look at science, we observe the things we have learned. Again, we do not create any of this. We are in a process of discovery, and we use the knowledge. These things are being revealed to us, And again, nowhere in nature is there anything that's 100% unpredictable, unrepeatable. So there is no random. The more we learn, we are finding out there are principles out there. But this random has gotten in. And so now we have even the religions, right? It's okay to lie. It's okay, the deception, the hate, the greed. And meanwhile, we take the scriptures and we just manipulate the scriptures. But the bottom line is we forget, or we simply refuse to acknowledge all of our science. These are the rules of creation that are being revealed to us. And so we are accountable as we are told in the scriptures. So both came from the same source. One is the most divisive force on the planet. The other one, just the knowledge, the revelation of knowledge, unites us across the globe. So science is actually serving God much better. And so our inflection point, this is the book that will be coming out, Humanity's Inflection Point, is when religions, it may take a while, but you can help. You've heard this, it's been revealed, and now we need to spread this word that all our science are revelations from our Creator. What we are discovering, whether it's life sciences, earth sciences, or physical sciences, all three branches, we are discovering that which has been created billions of years ago. We are simply discovering it, and there is no random. The more we learn, random is simply a product of ignorance. When we didn't understand the weather was random. When we didn't understand how genes work and DNA and all of these things, one of the things that, let me please say, paradoxically, right? Fingerprints. If there was random, what do you think the likelihood would be that we would have duplicate fingerprints? Even when you have identical twins, same DNA, you can't tell one from the other. But their fingerprints are always different. Think about that. Think about that amazing design. The intricate details, all of it, it's accounted for so that in the billions of people, we cannot find duplicate fingerprints. And think about it, in a random occurrence, what are the chances of that? What are the chances that we would find duplication? See, we see all of these wonderful things that we are constantly discovering. Some of the things are totally inexplicable with random. The fact that we have this synchronization between celestial bodies and either plants or animals on Earth. So we have to recognize this, get rid of the random stuff. And right now, today, this is 2023, science is serving God much better than many of those who take the scriptures and continue to divide and be so divisive. So I will wrap up now, so I won't go on, but I will be spending a lot of time on this so that at some point, somewhere you run into this and it's no coincidence. It is about time. It has been revealed to us so that we can spread the word and we can get to that, to humanity's inflection point where religions recognize that all the science are manifestations of the omnipotence of the Creator. We recognize the Creator designed and created all of this. Billions of years ago, DNA was there. Silicon was there. Lithium that we use in batteries. And when we move to the next stage and the next stage, it was all designed billions of years ago. And so many will spend time just repeating the scriptures and being divisive and spreading hate, and many absolving those in power who use deception, greed, and hate, absolving them, not recognizing that we all exist in the presence of the living God. And all this knowledge is a manifestation of his omnipotence. So now you know it, and I hope that you would do the research yourself. Look at the stories. I mean, you see Charles Darwin, Dmitry Mendeleev. Look down the road, recognize, and spread the word. You are in the presence of the Almighty, just like I am. Every word I speak, I'm in his presence. And so I thank you. This is no coincidence again. Take the word, spread it. I thank you for taking the time, and until, may God bless.